Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for April the 7th. So, as promised, this reading today is going to be on the USA and karma. So, just a couple of things I want to say first. One, I was given this topic, and when I was given the topic by Spirit, I was also told to get some sort of ranking numbers. Connected to the United States and where it ranks in different areas. So I have done that. So those numbers I have in front of me. Secondly, just because I'm talking about kind of the karma of a country, this reading is not going to envelop every single thing. Okay. Frankly, no reading can. I mean, even if you went to somebody really brilliant for your own past life information and karma reading, you're not going to get every single solitary piece of information out there. And I have a feeling, although I don't know for sure, but I have a feeling that this is going to focus more on kind of your current situation and not what's happening, because this virus is not karmic for anybody, kind of in a broad sweep. Okay, what is karmic has more to do with the handling of it and the way in which lessons are being learned or opportunities are being squandered, if you will. So I know that when this is said and done, people are going to be saying, well, you know what, she didn't talk about this, or she didn't even mention that. I don't expect me to, because, when they give me a topic like this, they are pretty clear they have very clear ideas about what it is they want to say. And so that's just what we're going to do. We're going to find out what it is Spirit wants to say with regards to the United States, the current situation, and the role that karma is playing in that. So, come on down. I have a question. So, no, that doesn't feel right. I'm just going to give this a couple more shuffles. So we're looking at the karmic implications of what is currently going on. And I suppose we may even get some insights with regards to not only past karma, but indeed perhaps future karma. So let's take a look and see what we see. USA karma, USA karma, USA karma. Okay. All right. Now I understand the ranking thing and why they needed me to get it. So, for a long time, in fact, probably forever in your nation's history, you have been told that you are the greatest country in the world. You are the best country in the world. And frankly, most citizens of most countries happen to think that their country is the best country. Okay, so that's not where the fault line happens, all right? But because of the way the message has been delivered, because it has become such a part of the foundation of the way your country perceives itself. I mean, even something as simple as, and again, I can't speak to other countries because I don't know how Australia refers to things, or England, the UK refers to things, or France. But in Canada, we have a province, and it's known as the province of whatever, Alberta, Ontario, Newfoundland, whatever it is. In the United States, it is the great state of Texas and the great state of Alabama. Everything has to be great and spectacular. And what that does is it feeds into a narrative that most people don't question, right? No one ever really looks to find out if what they think is so great is in fact actually great. And what that has done is that has set up an environment where you carry very, very heavy burdens. And there's a lot of sort of infighting and squabbling. And the burdens are heavy. And because the country was sort of founded on capitalism being everything and all, what that did was that put a price tag on things that other countries truly would consider an essential service or a necessity of life or something that contributes to the quality of life. But in a country where capitalism has become the main focus, that also comes, while there are gifts with that sort of a thinking, there are also downsides. So these are some of the things that I want you to just consider. And again, these are numbers that I got randomly from different sources. Please don't send me a bunch of quotes saying, well, this source says this is a different number, okay? The idea is that you get the idea of what you're being told. So, interestingly, really, the United States ranks number one when it comes to, you have the top 4 universities in the world are in the United States. And you are famous for, the United States is most famous for Hollywood, sports, and music. And that was fascinating to me because it really does play into the whole, the more money you have, the more money you make, the more money you generate. That is what gives you that sense of being famous or well known or respected, etc. You are second in the world in education, which is not bad. You are 15th in the world in terms of healthcare and hospitals and quality of life. You are 118th in the world in terms of safety. What actually is considered globally, what makes the United States the best country, is your Constitution and your Bill of Rights, which, because you have a president who, according to some sources, had an IQ test done when he was in that military academy, and he scored a 73. So generally speaking, between 80 and 89 would be considered a low average IQ, and 90 to around 120 or so is basically considered average above average, okay? And that has nothing to do with like geniuses and that level. So at 73, he's just a mite shy of what would be considered a low average IQ score. So that's what you have running your company, your country. So because he is in place now in this time and place, and the country is facing what is going to be one of the biggest challenges of its existence, you have in place a president who does not know what he is doing. He doesn't know how to do it, and nor is he interested in listening to people who might know. And all of those factors came together in many ways to create the perfect storm. And it's not about picking on the United States, because there's countries all over the world who have delusions or illusions about themselves. What it is recognizing that it is time to stop celebrating the falsehoods. It's just as simple as that. And because you are being hit the way you are being hit with this pandemic, it gives you the perfect opportunity basically to tear down what isn't working and rebuild it in a way that is more not only suitable for the actual people, those we the people by the people thing, more suitable for that, but honestly is more sustainable in a world in which resources are getting more limited, in a world in which the cost of just living has spiraled so far out of control that you have to virtually be above middle class to be able to have any quality of life in your country. And again, I am not picking on the United States, but this is a reading about the United States' karma and why they find themselves in the position they are in, okay? So this thing is like conflating and coming together in such a way so that you have the opportunity to evaluate and literally tear down what doesn't work, okay? And some of the things that do not work in your country are those things that require payment for service when the service is essential to your health and well-being. So, of course, hospitals and healthcare come to mind immediately. So it's a pretty good thing that once you get to be 65 in your country, that kind of stuff is covered for you. But it's the getting from birth to 65 that really can prove problematic for a significant number of people. And heaven forbid anybody gets really sick because your healthcare costs are insane. And even with insurance, from what I understand, you still end up with a really big bill at the end of it because not everything is covered. The same goes with your drugs or prescriptions. So that's actually a part of what needs to be torn down and looked at. But I caution you, your country is not a country that does well when things are ripped down. And especially given the climate you are in, it is more about incrementally changing things as you move towards a goal, okay? Nobody decides to do a marathon run by putting the potato chip bowl on the table, getting up, brushing the crumbs from their tummy, strapping on their 5-year-old running shoes, and marching themselves off to the start line and starting a marathon. And in many ways, that's kind of what would happen if your country tried to tear down something that is already existing, because too many would fall through the cracks before they got all the kinks. And so part of what you're looking to do, and this is actually part of where just deviating for a second to the elections, this is part of where Bernie is going to have some really good ideas about moving the country forward, but instead of a revolution, because honestly, with everything that's going on right now, the last thing any country needs is a revolution, let alone a country like yours where the healthcare system is so broken and fragile. But what he is going to do is he's going to be very helpful in moving incrementally, helping to figure out a way to incrementally move the healthcare system forward so that it kind of gets to the end goal, or to an end goal that is workable for the vast majority of the country, okay? So the other thing that's really curious, if you will, and again, this is not exclusive to your country, but the rule of law in your country is very kind of important. But it's important in a way that is unbalanced, right? If you're on the right side of law, or you can afford it, or you have contacts, the rule of law is very helpful to you. If you are on the lower end of the spectrum, the rule of law is absolutely not helpful for you. So again, it's all about the imbalances within the country itself. And part of what has happened is there seems to be, and again, not by everybody, but there is a significant percentage of people in the United States who are very, very happy to relinquish their autonomy and their own personal authority to a higher power. So just off the top, certainly you have that really powerful evangelical community, but this really is more about handing your power over to the government, handing it over to the city councils, the mayors, the governors, the presidents, the senators. There's kind of this, well, I'll vote for them, and then don't bug me for 4 years. Let them just take care of it. And so what has happened is over a period of time, the presidents, frankly, have become more and more powerful in ways that honestly they shouldn't have. And now there is a price to be paid for that, because you have a complete incompetent in the office, and he has all of these powers that honestly JFK didn't have. Whoever was before him didn't have. But over time, presidents have sort of accumulated more power as senators or the House, I don't know, but have sort of relinquished it to them. And so what you have now is a checks and balance systems where the balance is out of balance, and the checks, frankly, are not as strong as was the original intention. So this is what has created basically the situation where you're in, where all of a sudden it seems as if things are spiraling out of control so quickly that you can't even sort of pick up the sticks as they fall and try to put them back together again. And that is part of what this health crisis is, in part, pointing out to the country. And what it is, where there is an opportunity to actually start fixing things, it is going to take starting to look at things a little bit more objectively. And instead of just believing that you are the greatest, actually taking the time to figure out if you actually are. And if what you're hearing is the truth. And Trump has a very sort of interesting thing that he does. And he understands the psychology behind it, which is if you repeat something often enough and enthusiastically enough, people will simply come to believe it. They don't question it. They don't research it. They don't investigate it. They simply believe it. And he is really good at that, unfortunately. So he just keeps saying, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest, I'm the greatest. He's the worst, he's the worst, he's the worst. I'm the only one that can fix it. I'm the only one that can fix it. I'm the only one that can fix it. And people simply start to buy into it, and they don't question it. And that is part of how he has managed to accumulate sort of some of the power that he has over certain portions of the country. And because of that, it makes the price that's going to be paid karmically all the more dear. Okay? So there are certain events within your country's history. There is, first of all, the stealing, the theft of the land that belonged to the Native Americans. Then there was the importation, what a nice word, of the slaves to run the businesses that were flourishing in a country that was based on capitalism. You needed the slaves so the cotton mills or whatever, the plantations could make money. So this is the curse that you carry. So now when you are trying to control this massive pandemic that is literally going to destroy very large segments of your population, it boils down to money, because the country in some ways, and I'm not so sure it was founded on it as much as it evolved. It functions on this basic state of complete capitalism. And don't get me wrong, there's all kinds of countries in the world who happen to think capitalism is incredibly important. In fact, I live in one. But it is balanced off with social services. It is balanced off with the needs of the citizens. And that is not something that ever, in a really significant or consistent way, has been part of the United States' history. So again, now you have run into a really big problem, and you're faced with the realization that, wait a minute, hospitals, maybe it's not so good that they are for-profit only businesses. Businesses, understand the word I just said. I didn't say service. I said business. Oh, we're going to give a whole bunch of money to rich people who don't need it? Okay. Well, guess what? That puts the people at the lower end of the spectrum at a disadvantage when some sort of a health crisis like this emerges, because not only are they actually physically not healthy enough, or that's not fair. They're not as healthy as their wealthy peers, except for the wealthy peers that overindulge to the point where they're gluttons, but I digress. So, and again, you find out that lack of resources, that lack of shared resources, the lack of sharing the basic essentials across the board, again, puts the country at a real disadvantage. So there's, if I literally had to sum up the karmic lesson of the United States, I'm receiving this information. This is a direct quote that I'm getting. They are saying the country of the United States of America is now learning the curse of money being God. And even your money says, "In God we trust." And I don't want to get into religious debates with people, but it is interesting that somehow the divine and money have been blended together in your world, almost literally reinforcing the idea that the piece of paper that you hold that represents a monetary value has "In God we trust" on it. It's just fascinating. So you can nitpick, right? You can go down the line and you can talk about, and I mean, I know there's brilliant astrologers out there who are comparing, I don't know, the revolution or the Civil War, I never get that straight, with kind of the astrological situation that we're currently undergoing and the similarities. I'm not saying that those events don't have a profound and significant impact on what is going on and how it is being experienced, but this is from like 30,000 feet. And what they're saying is there has been a misunderstanding about the country's strengths and weaknesses over time. And so this has become the opportunity to correct. And please understand, karma, the word karma gets thrown around a lot. And worse, it has become reduced to good karma or bad karma. Karma is simply the effect of an action. That's what karma is by definition. It is the effect of an action. So you are suffering the effects of actions that have been taken in the past, and you are enjoying the benefits of actions that have been taken in the past. That is karma. It's not about punishment and reward, really, as much as it is almost like a balancing, okay? So this is the trajectory. This is the story. Money became everything, was the priority. The law was looked away from when it was convenient. And that created the idea or the feeling or the belief that as a country, you were victorious, despite the fact that the science, the statistics didn't agree with you, okay? Now, you're not going to be able to go back, people. And it's going to take a lot of work to move yourself in a forward direction. But that is the absolute and probably the only sort of rainbow in the events that you are currently dealing with, is that because things are going to be broken down, some very quickly, you're going to be able to start the rebuilding process honestly in a way that is more authentic. Truly, I'm saying this again, another direct quote. You're going to be able to rebuild your country in a way that is actually more authentic to the soul of the citizens. It's not the soul of America, people. It is the soul of its people that in turn sort of creates that soul of America. It is the people. It is their soul. It is their will. And you are finally being given an opportunity to balance things out in such a way so that your greatness is actually allowed to grow, develop, evolve, and then become great, just like every other country's. But look at these cards. This is lovely. So what they're saying is you have the opportunity, you have the ability, the desire, the manpower, the will, whatever it takes to move your country forward in a healthier way, to almost literally birth a new reality, a new attitude. It's about almost, I'm hearing the words like taking the Constitution, taking the Bill of Rights, like literally, in some cases, and more, it's sort of like the spirit of the word or the spirit of the law, the spirit with which it was intended, okay? All men created equal does not mean white, rich men are created equal. It means every soul is equal to another. Okay, so there is a sense that this is, despite the horrors and the pain and the heartbreak that you are currently undergoing, there really is an opportunity for you to rebuild, create something that is more balanced, that is more in harmony, and frankly, that redistributes the wealth in a better and more balanced way. It's going to be hard work, but you're going to be able to do it. And therein will lie the strength and the growth of your country. I'm sorry, excuse me. So there you have it. I don't quite know if that was what you were expecting of a reading, but again, with me, Spirit has a habit of kind of shooting up 30,000 feet, and then we take it from there. I don't know which kitty cat is crying. I think that could be Jerry. So sorry if your cats have started crying in your own homes or the dogs have started barking. Okay, so there you have it. I repeat one more time, if you have not had an opportunity to check out the Soulprint Insights video with regards to controlling your own fears, this would be a really great time for you to take the time to do that. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are going to find it super, super helpful. Okay. Thank you again for all of your support to the Soulprint family. It's so appreciated. Until next time, take care. Be well. Wash your hands. And I'll see you real soon. Bye.